Obviously, I'm Shane, and first and foremost, thanks very much everybody that's turned up today. I know there's a few familiar faces, and I know exactly how far some of you have come. So massive thanks for taking the extra special effort to be here today. And basically, what I want to have a chat about today is, if it's sort of about making six figures in 6 weeks or something like that. Like I've got different priorities in life, and like that's just absolutely, it would be nice obviously, but it's just not the sole focus right now. So hopefully I'm going to give a little bit of a different perspective on like my business and like my experience of getting from what I'll tell you about in a bit, starting out and like where I'm today and the challenges that we faced, the awesome things that have happened along the way, and hopefully you can take bits and pieces from my experience and also take that into what you do as well. So I'm basically, there's three main things that I focus on at the moment. There's my family. So for those of you that follow my material and things like that, you might know I have a little 6-month-old boy at home at the minute, and I'd conservatively say he woke up probably like 70 times last night. I think he knows I've got an event on today that I'm speaking at, so maybe played up a little bit more. But yeah, so there's obviously that, and that's the biggest priority for me. So that's like the number one core aspect that can't be negated in any way, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that later on as to why. The second thing is the business, obviously. So I'm the owner of SGN Nutrition. I'll give you a little bit more detail about that towards the end of the presentation, the work that we do there. And also I'm a doctoral researcher at the minute, so I'm completing my PhD part-time at the moment. So there's quite a few bits and pieces like going off at the same time. And essentially, the way I set up the business now, it allows me to facilitate those other things happening without really negating any of those areas, if that makes sense. So to begin with, obviously, some of you here are very familiar with me, and you know a lot about me. You've followed my work for quite a while, which is awesome. But obviously, there'll be some people here today, I'd imagine, that don't really know who I am and what have you. So, like I said, to begin with, I took like a little bit of an academic route. Studied with the International Olympic Committee and went on to do the Masters and the PhD, and that's where I am today. At the time of doing my Masters, I had a full-time job, and basically, what happened was I signed up with a business mentor at the time. I'm not going to say too much about said person. I'm not here to speak negatively of anybody on this today, but one of the things what I would say is, as a part of working with this business guru, they essentially helped me make one of the biggest changes that I've ever made in my life, which was literally going up on stage at an event like this and like leaving my job literally on stage. And it was obviously incredible pressure and stress and what have you, but I would say that's probably the best thing that's ever happened to me, really. And by the way, is there anybody that was actually there? I know you were there, Alan.
I'm so proud of you, by the way.
But we've just been talking about this just at the beginning. I was like going up on stage like shaking like a shitting dog, basically. I'm like, what's going to happen and all this sort of thing, and it really was like the best thing. Debatable whether that should have taken place, obviously, but for me it worked out really well. So handed my notice in, started, did my month's notice, and then started working on SGN Nutrition as a full-time entity. And I'm personally like you might be able to relate to this, you might be slightly different, but I'm a very negatively motivated person, and what I mean by that is if I'm going to lose my house by not paying my mortgage this month, then funnily enough that pressurizes me into making a good success of the programs that we run and making sales and things like that. So that was like that, as I said, that would fit perfectly for me. Now, as any sort of business owner goes through, it's a constant problem solving and learning how to be better process throughout the whole journey. So initially finance boxes were ticked after a little while for making sales. I was working with probably about 30 odd clients online in a weight loss perspective, and it worked really well, but I didn't think at all about how to set up programs properly so that it fits in and around all the other stuff that we've got going off. So I'll never forget the day basically where I used to do my work in like the dining room table, which annoyed the shit out of Jade, but anyway, so I went into the living room and Jade was watching telly and she was like basically almost in tears, and obviously I said, what's the problem? Is everything okay? And she basically said the whole point of you leaving your job was so that we could, of course, have more money than what we were having before, but also have better quality of life. And literally the money's gone up and the quality of life has gone from there. Literally, it could not be any worse. And the reason being is because I was getting up at 7 o'clock, starting work at 8, literally sat at that table until, I don't know, 10, 11 o'clock at night. And that was literally for like almost a solid year. So it's okay, it's very noble doing all this like hustle thing, and like, I come from a very hard working family. My dad left school at like 14 to work on the farm and stuff like that, and that's like my type of upbringing, right, my background. You work harder, you get more in return. To a certain extent, obviously that's true, but to the point where I've set this company up and it's actually really hindering my personal relationships and things like that. So from that day, that was the day that I decided that everything has to change again. So I've created this entity, it's sort of taking over, and it has to completely change again. So I have a bit more of a thought on how to leverage my time much better, which if you're on Justin's program, it's like a massive part of the trainings that we do and what have you. And from that point onwards, really focused on getting people into a group format, for example, and obviously that's saved a lot of time on one-to-one calls and things like that. And I was sat there thinking, I've got to change all this, and like every client's going to leave, like every single one of them. Put the message out, and guess what? They all absolutely loved the idea. Like, I've just come up with all this crap in my head, basically saying like, you're going to lose everything because this change needs to happen, and it absolutely wasn't the case at all. In actual fact, they preferred the process more because they've got a group of people surrounding them, and they've got like a network of people, a community that can bounce ideas off. And obviously if somebody's got a bit like today, I suppose, if somebody's got a challenge, it's really nice to be able to relate with somebody and go, oh my God, my husband leaves his socks at the end of the bed as well. I got a massive eating binge after that and all that sort of whatever, So it's actually really nice for them to have that extra level of support in a group set, and it actually ended up working better. So if we fast forward a little bit more, essentially, I had a personal trainer reach out to me, just a random message, and he basically said, if it's okay, you could sort of come and help us with our client nutrition, and straight away I was like, whoa, you've got like 30 clients or something like that. How do I work with like 30 people all at once? That's going to cause me the same problems as I've just got out of, basically. But we gave it a trial, gave it a go, and it worked okay. And the systems have developed and got much better to handle much more requests. And obviously, one of the key elements that we try and focus on when working with the clients through the personal trainers and fitness business owners that we work with is the actual client education. So again, it's like completely as cringy as it sounds. If we can teach the client to fish rather than just giving them the fish every week, yes, it does take a little bit longer, but now we can actually learn to, or try and teach the client so that essentially they can be self-sufficient for decades to come, and not just like, I don't know, reliant on a meal plan, like a 7-day meal plan every week, and that takes your time up, it's not necessary, all of these things and more. So one of the sort of key things that I was going to talk about really was, the ability to sort of be resilient as well, and whether you've got a company that's like 6-7 figures or something like that, or if you're literally starting out, every single one of us have to get into that habit really of like learning how to solve those problems instead of sort of worrying about them or moaning about them. Like me, I was sat there, worried about losing my house or something like that, and it just turned out to be absolute rubbish. Like it doesn't exist at all. So as soon as we go into that sort of problem-solving mentality, it makes a huge difference. So there's loads and loads of examples that I can give you, but one of the key ones really was when I was studying, and I had a full-time job, but I had to get to the labs and things like that to do my data collection, and I cut a long story short, I had to go in and negotiate at my place of work and say, am I alright to have like 2 or 3 hours off every Wednesday morning so I can go to the labs? I'm doing this qualification, as soon as it's finished I'm definitely going to leave your company immediately. Is it okay if you facilitate that? I don't know why they said yes, but they did, and it worked from there. And then again, like that problem solved, but that creates a new problem because I didn't have a driving license or anything at the time, and the labs are like a million miles away. Like, how do I get to and from there? So literally got on the phone to my dad and said, am I right to borrow some money? I need to buy a bike to like cycle there and all that sort of stuff. So again, like obviously these aren't very business specific examples, but it absolutely directly correlates into what we do day to day today. So we have a challenge with a client. What would have initially sort of taken me a week to get over, because it's like gutting that this problem's occurred, once we build up that level of resilience, which I think that's probably one of our, as a team, one of our biggest fortes is to just think like cool, calm and collected about any challenges that we come across within the business, whether it's specifics like lead generation or something like that. It could be sales, it could be the client support standards and things like that. It could be anything in between. We always take a cool, calm and collected approach to those challenges and spend all our energy basically on solving the problem, rather than, as you can probably, we could just go onto Facebook now and see like loads of people whinging about the price of Facebook ads. Like whinging is not doing anything, we need to basically figure out a strategy to be able to solve that. So when it comes to our the actual work that we do with clients, we're supporting nearly 800 clients at the minute across the world, predominantly within the UK of course, but we have clients in Australia and Canada and like the east coast of America and all over the place basically. And it's an absolute pleasure to be able to have the privilege of working with so many business professionals, and also having the opportunity to achieve my goals as well, which are basically to work with tens of thousands of people. That's where I see SGN Nutrition going from today. In the future, it's obviously not there yet, but that's one of the company visions that we have. We want to genuinely make a big impact on tens of thousands of people's lives. And how we're going to do that is basically essentially partnering up with people like you guys. Again, like obviously if you want to have a chat at the end in a bit more specific detail and things, that's absolutely fine. But as part of the services we offer, we can make a partnership with someone that's got like 100 clients, and we can instantly have access to changing 100 people's lives from there. And I don't mean that in a wishy-washy generic way, by the way. Like everything that we've done, we've invested thousands into the boring education side of things behind it. I'm still doing that now. We've spent hours and hours doing all the learning so that people don't have to. It's a genuine contribution to the end user, which is essentially your clients, and being supported on literally one of the single most important aspects, which is nutrition. So with our ethos around nutrition, we basically focus on the long-term aspect. Of course we can help clients between now and 2 months time, and they want to go on some beach somewhere and get fantastic results, but as long as that's framed as like a stepping stone along the way. So we can't just get your results and that's it, because guess what, next year you're going another holiday, you're going to get out of shape again, and you're going to have to do all this process over and over again. So the idea is to get clients to a standard where we're thinking long term, and we're essentially able to keep them at a fantastic level for decades to come. And there's challenges with that. It does, like I said, it does take a little bit longer and a little bit more effort, a little bit more coaching, a little bit more interaction and teaching with clients and things like that. But it doesn't matter, because the net gain is like by far, in my opinion, outweighs the additional time and effort and energy that we have to expend essentially to be able to bring clients to that level. So I think what I'm going to do from here is maybe do a little bit like of a Q&A session or something like that. Hopefully, you guys have obviously take a little bit from what I've done so far and what have you. If you like, bullet points to take home in your business and what have you. And obviously, if there's anything more specific that you want to talk about, I know I've talked about a lot of very general things today. But the more specific things, like I'm basically around all day. Like you're more than welcome to catch up. Obviously, apart from the mastermind session, I'll be unavailable during that time. But any other time, obviously, we can have a bit of a chat and catch up in a bit more depth on what we do, how we help people, and obviously, if you just want to pick my brains over anything in particular, really. So, thanks very much for listening so far. I think we'll go into a bit of a Q&A session, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Happy days.
I would like to know about, or tell the guys about kind of the process from when the baby was on the way.
Oh, yeah.
I remember our conversation in Cyprus, and how because I think you handled it so well, from going in like total freak out mode to then turning it to your advantage and using it.
Yeah, definitely.
So what was that transition like for you of when you're running this business and then a kid comes into the mix?
I think it's like a perspective thing, because you think that you have to. Again, I'm constantly battling this like working man's like mentality of you have to do 90 hours a week to make loads of money and stuff. So at the time I was still doing quite a bit of work, like time wise, and then I thought, oh shit, like we've got this baby coming along now as well, like how's this going to work? You know, I need to be, Jade's going to be on maternity leave, and like, okay, so her pay goes down, right? I need to make that additional. So there's loads of you know, things that happened at that period of time that, like you say, caused me to completely freak out. And I was like on the plane coming over to you in Cyprus, like, Justin, sit down when you have a chat, you know, this sort of thing. And it actually got to the point where the baby did come along, obviously, and it's like a fuel now. It's not it's in absolutely no way. Sorry, I'm not here. I mean the situation. I do love my kid, I swear. But yeah, so it's like he's like a little fuel for, you know, you see him in the morning and he's just smiling and stuff. You think, like, I don't care how like, you've just been kicking me all night for 70 times tonight before I come over.
I think it's like today. Again, a lot of the what ifs in our head. What if this person leaves? What if a baby comes along? What if this rent's overdue? A lot of these things, if the thing actually happens, I think like the environmental aspect of it actually forces you into change quicker, because when it's actually real, then you haven't got time to be afraid anymore. It's like, well, it's here now. The fear is only when it hasn't happened yet and you're worried about it maybe happening. When it's there, when you know, you're pregnant, or when the team member walks out tomorrow, or when 10 clients leave, or your Facebook ad account gets shut down, that's when it gets real, and there's no space for fear anymore. You just go into, well, we've got to be proactive and do something now. And that environment, I think, it always shapes you into doing things quick. And
yeah, well,
it brings you back to focus on what's a priority that you've been keeping off.
The thing is as well, like, I don't know if ever, maybe some of you can relate to this as well, like, you start a business because you want to make more money, sometimes obviously, and also so that you can have a better lifestyle, like a better work-life balance and things. That was the whole point of you taking that massive leap. And then literally a year down the line, you know, if you catch up with some of your colleagues or something, say, oh, how's everything going? And you can safely sit there and say like, oh, the business is going fantastic, we're making, you know, enough money and things like that. But it's like, you know, you haven't come to the pub once, like in 12 months, where have you been? It's like, mate, I'm working, like, I'm busy. And you genuinely are just doing literally more than double the hours that you were doing before. So that's a complete contradiction to the reason why that you set that up, if that makes sense. And for me, it took that, you know, there's certain things that happen, like challenges, and like I said, we're very resilient and take a cool and calm, collected approach. But you know, when you see like my then girlfriend, my now wife, like almost in tears, and you think, right, that hit me like a truck. Like, I've completely missed the point of setting this company up. You're just like in the trenches with your blinkers on, and then you just think, oh, well, this is never going to change until something shit happens, basically. And then that's my negative motivation again. I'm not saying like I mess up every time in order to make any changes, well, hopefully. But
we all get into this, I think a lot of us, because most of us come into the business, we're not looking, most of us didn't think about starting a business. We just wanted to replace a job. So, all we think about is the money driver, because we're happy to work all hours. But the thing you got to remember as well is when you're in business 5, 10, 15 years, your life situation is going to change in that time. And we can't plan too far ahead for anything. But I always think like aiming for, building the business around your lifestyle is always the best plan, because it just gives, it's not because you need or you want plenty of hours free, or because it's not because I can just jump on a plane to Thailand tomorrow, because I'm just not going to do that. But it's the fact it's having that freedom of choice to be able to if anything happens, you're able to roll with it then. Because you can have all the money, but if you're then stuck 40 hours in the week anyway, you can have all the money in the world. It's not going to solve the problems that can only be solved by. And again, when you have like families and kids, it's like they'll say the same thing. It's like, we don't care about how much money. We want you. We want your presence. We want and not just your physical presence, but your emotional presence. So how many of us sometimes, we say, oh yeah, we're out on a date night with the missus, or we're at home with the kids, but we're still on the phones. You're not really there. And that's, I think, a lot. So being able to get to that place where you can structurally and physically set the business up so you can have that night with the family or whatever it is, or on your own. But also mentally, because you can set that up and you can still mentally not be there because you're then worrying about what you're going to do when you go back. And so getting both those things right, the structural shift is easier than the mindset shift. And so it's getting that place of actually then being comfortable of letting things go, being comfortable that, just not living in anxiety all the time.
Yeah,
basically. How are you with that right now? Do you, on the structural and mental aspect, like where do you fit into that right now? Honestly?
It's absolutely fine, really, because the core vision for the company, and also for like mine and the family's personal goals, and how we see like what our day-to-day life taking place is 80% of that's already happening. It's not nobody really needs like a Ferrari or something. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't need that. Like, the bills are paid. You go on a few holidays every year, happy days. Like,
but your Instagram won't look that good.
Well, it actually looks better because I'm not sat there like with a laptop on the beach with no charger in, going, "Oh, I just spent the day on the beach." Your charger, you can't even see the screen because it's too bright. Like, just stop putting wanky posts up. Whereas, genuinely, all joking aside, like,
And if you're at the beach, why are you on a laptop? Why wouldn't you be like?
Yeah, something. Spend time with your kids, like. But yeah, one of the things is like, I have had that especially since, and it was around probably starting working with yourself, where going away on holiday, that was like a big mind fuck for me, because it was like 2 weeks off and like not, like, don't get me wrong, I wasn't like completely checked out at the time. I wasn't able to do that, but like we've been on like 6 or 7 holidays like since then, and it's not.
It was hard enough to get you on the plane to Cyprus, wasn't it?
Yeah.
When
I was like, I don't
Jade
know if
was
I can
pregnant,
take the time off, and Jade's like, rolling around the sofa, go, oh, I need some this, that, and the other. I can't leave her really. It's like, just go over there, get it tested, and if what's the worst that can happen? Your business isn't going to crumble because you're on holiday for a week. Well, sorry, doing work on the mastermind. This is going out to YouTube.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, cool.
How much have you changed as a person through all of this? And has there been any beliefs that you used to have that held you back? Have you adopted different beliefs?
Yeah, massively. I could talk about that specifically for literally about a week, but one of the key things is, as I said, how your upbringing and like your family and your environment, how like my parents speak about money, and I'll give you an example. So when I went out to Cyprus, and I rang, like, absolutely love my mum and dad to bits, by the way, I'm not taking anything away from them, we just think differently, that's all. So we're on the phone, and she's go, oh, how's it going? It's like, well, I've just booked to go to Cyprus for this mastermind thing. She said, oh, bloody hell, it's well for some. And I'm like, no, mum, you can do all of the things that you want to do, just stop telling yourself. But that directly rubbed off on me. So I'm, building a business and thinking, like, why would somebody pay like hundreds of pounds to work with me? Like almost the imposter syndrome thing, and you have all of those things to break through first. And then also, what I will say as well is, when the company does go up and like your workload gets less because you get better systems, and I'm sat there thinking, I don't really have that much to do today. I feel really fucking guilty, like massively, especially when you're on the phone to a family member or something. They've been like, I don't know, driving down to London at 4 o'clock to go and do work for like literally, maybe a quarter of the remuneration or whatever. You're thinking, it's a really tricky thing to be like having more turnover than like people that you love and that you've looked up to all that time, and then the guilt sets in again. It's like, how do I meet? Do you get where I'm coming from?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's completely changed me as a person, in the sense that whilst I was working, also just complete confinement, like no progression, no ability to, hopefully you can see that I'm quite passionate about what I do, and I can say what I want when I want now and do it how I want and all that sort of stuff. And obviously being at places like this, it's just absolutely perfect, really.
So we got like about a minute left. What would you say then is what would be the ultimate piece of advice you'd want to give everyone in 1 minute?
Well,
put pineapple on pizza.
Jesus Christ, this never goes away. This feels like memes where they're like, leave me alone. Like, anyway, yeah, don't put pineapple on pizza. That's absolutely disgusting. You should leave now if you do that, or like happy doing that. And the thing is, like, genuinely, I think the biggest thing is not to lose sight of what you set the business up to do in the first place. Because like I've already said, like, I've got the luxury of working with so many amazing fitness business owners, and we'll jump on a call and they're like, oh Shane, what have you been up to? I'm like, well, I've just I don't know, been to the park with Jade and Shay, took the dog a walk and that. I've got a bit of work to do, I've got a couple of calls in the afternoon, and then I don't know if Jade goes out of the house, I might play a bit of Call of Duty if I'm allowed, that. So what I'm saying is, like, their turnover and things like that, absolutely, I'm not going to say here like I'm a trillionaire or anything like that. Like, their turnover might be a lot more than what my company does, but actually, I don't really care. Like, I just don't care. Like, I'm doing now all the things that I originally set out to do in the company, and having the company work around me and still delivering the same level of service to all our clients all over the world. And if you get all those things sorted, like, that's in my opinion, you've completed it, really. And then from there, the business actually naturally grows, because you're happy. Like, I can get on a call and be like, hey, how's it going? Just chilled out, and like, not like, fuck off, client. I need to go and make sales. Go away. Like, that's going to cost you money. Like,
I always say, a business can only grow to the size of consciousness of the owner. So if the business needs to grow, it's because you need to grow first. So I mean, anything, any goal. Like, if it's like weight training or prep for a contest, you can have all the systems and know what to do, but you gotta have the mindset to get up in the morning and do the unsexy, boring things and take it on. And it's like, I'm gonna be doing this, nothing's gonna stop me. Staying focused, staying emotionally resilient. That is a consciousness thing you have to work on, and the business can only expand into that space that you create as a person.
I just add to that as well. So like, this is one thing that so I still do work with a handful of my original weight loss clients. Like, they predominantly work with fitness businesses now, but we do this with my clients. And on the goal setting side of things, I found it really difficult to, once you hit a certain threshold and you like meet your goals, if you like, and then you think, what's the point now? Like, I've done it now. Like, what's a bit like if you like, I don't know, win the Champions League at football or something. Like, what's the point in winning two? I've already done it. Like, I think a lot of professionals get that mentality thing. And the biggest thing for me was, again, like, not sorry to keep bigging you up, but like, the actual program itself was one of the things was, having that mindset shift from having goals that are associated emotionally to you and your life and your family and things like that. And so now, actually, I get up in the morning and I think, I'm having a bit of a shitty day, like, I can't be arsed. And then I see Shay smiling, I'm thinking, no, I'm doing this for him. Like, and then straight away, that all completely goes and you get to work again. And that's one of the biggest things as well, like, on the goal setting front. But yeah, that, I would highly recommend having that tied in with like something exceptionally personal for you. So that you've got like an emotional attachment to the goals as well, and not
external things.
Oh, if I hit like so much per month, I'll buy a car. Like, yeah, that's not gonna, if you're tired and you need to do some projects and stuff like that, it's not gonna get you out of bed to go and do that. Like, just in my opinion, anyway. You might love cars, I don't know.
Cool.
But as long as it's not pineapple and pizzas and stuff.
That's the main takeaway, no pineapple pizzas.
When your son's old enough, I am going to get him pineapple.
Like, I'm going to let him anywhere near you.
I think
Alright.
And you
How
run,
many
you
people like
can't.
pineapple on pizza? I do.
Oh, look at that, the minority. Who'd have thought it?
Alright guys, big thanks to Shane anyway. Thanks for that, buddy.
Thanks very much, guys.
So, alright, let's just crack on then. Alright guys, so I've got some things to go into and talk about, but I think if I open up to Q&A, I'm pretty sure your questions are going to lead to the things we're going to talk about. So, yeah, I'm just open up a bit of Q&A, guys. What are some of the questions you have on marketing, on systems, team building, mindset, anything else? What do we have? Okay.
A lot of it for myself is I've still got a full-time job, so it's like a little bit of still a hobby.
Right, personal training?
Group bootcamp.
Okay.
So the 3 classes a week, but the membership's grown quite a lot, but I'm stagnated. So with it, a lot of it is how you can
Transition.
do things alongside what I'm doing.
Right. Are you planning to stay in your job?
Yeah. a lot.
Yeah.
So,
So again, it kind of goes back to what Shane was saying there. You've got to first know why you're doing what you're doing. Because we're in this social conditioning of more. We have to put more weight on the bar. We have to lose more body fat. We have to make more money. No, you don't. No, you don't. No, you don't. If you've got a business, I've met 1 or 2 individuals. They have a 6K a month personal training business, and they're absolutely genuinely happy with it. Most say that they're just bullshitting because they don't want to grow. But some people genuinely, they make $6 grand a month and they work 4 hours a day and they're genuinely happy and they have no plans to expand beyond that because they know why they did it in the first place. So the same with you. You've got to figure out, you've got your job here and you've got this new part-time thing. So you've got to really figure out what is it you're trying to get for your life. Because the goal is not stay in the job. The goal is not grow the business. That's not your goal. Same with all you. Growing a business, revenue, targets, sales targets, number of clients, these are not your real goals. These are strategies to achieve the real goal, which is what is the lifestyle you want for yourself. And I'll break down lifestyle into 4 things to make it more practical. I look at it as number 1, and this is really, again, going off of what Shane was saying. Number 1 is going to be personal income. How much personal income do you want or need to make to live the lifestyle you want and kind of support your family and things like that? Not business revenue, but personal income, how much you get paid, right? Figure out that cornerstone number first of all, and then probably realize if you are going to make that money from a business, you probably need to generate at least 3 times that amount. So if you want 5 grand a month, the business probably will need to make 15 grand or more to cover costs, put profit aside, payroll, things like that. The next thing then you're going to know is then your time allowance, right? How much free time do you want to, and this goes in the first question, what does your ideal life look like? How much time do you need to do things? So the easy way to ask yourself this is to ask in reverse and say, how many hours a day maximum would I be happy to work on or in my business? So if you ask yourself right now, would I be happy working 10 hours a day in my business, Monday to Friday? For most of you, probably not. You've done 10 hours a day for the last few years, probably, right? So maybe ask yourself, okay, what about 5 hours a day? You know, maybe some of you are happy with that, maybe others aren't. For a lot of guys, the sweet spot is about 2 to 3 hours a day to get their personal income and only work no more than 2 to 4 hours a day on or in the business. That's the sweet spot for a lot of people. Not everyone, and it doesn't mean if you want to work more, if you want to work 10 hours a day because you absolutely love it and it lights you up, and go for it, right? Again, it's knowing what's working for you and why you're doing it. What you're going to find though is when you start getting more like family commitments and things like that, like then, you know, those priorities will change and you can go from being an absolute loving the hustle, loving the workload, to then switching priorities to, no, I want to be there for my kids and family now. That can happen, you know, just as the environment changes. So think about where you are in life with these kind of things. If you know you have no plans for family or kids for another 5 years, then I say you may as well get stuck in. You may as well ignore a lot of what I say and just go in, do 10 hours a day, focusing on what it does light you up the most, focus on that passionate side you have, and you can generate a lot of wealth for yourself or set the foundation for something that can turn into a more leverageable business later. So you got to think about how much time you then want. Then you think about your location independence. Do you want to be traveling, backpacking around the world? Do you want to be just working at your gym down the road? Again, if you tend to have more dependence as you're older, you'll probably settle more into where you are. You're not going to want to go backpacking around Australia or anything if you have 4 kids, probably. And think about your lifestyle too, because if you do tend to be more, usually younger, less dependent, you want to travel more, you're probably going to go and make use of geo-arbitrage, which means geo-arbitrage is, you know, you'll earn in one currency like pounds, but then you might go and live in Thailand and you can live for 2 grand a month. So if you have less dependence and you're planning to travel, you then need an online business obviously, or you need to run a physical business from
mobile, run your team. But remember, your personal income won't be as much to live in a place like that. Whereas if you're on the other end of the spectrum, you're more someone who's happier to work more hours, happier to be in one place because you have a family, kids, so you're just settled, you've got a mortgage somewhere. Then you'll probably need a higher income because you've got more people to support as well. But you're happier just to work more hours too. So really have a think about what you want for your life, because your business is designed to support and fuel this. That's why you're doing it. It's an investment vehicle. And so that's personal income. You've got time. You've got level of location mobility, if any. And the fourth thing really is about contribution and really what excites you to do. Where are you going to get fulfillment from? So you can have a perfect business that makes you £1 million revenue a day. You work 1 hour a week. You can travel around the world. But you know what? In 3 weeks, you'll get bored of that. Right? There'll come a point where if it's not lighting you up, if it's not passionate about it, you're going to just find something else to do anyway. So the one thing that's going to keep you in the business and keep you focused and keep you delivering good value is not more money. It's going to be where you find fulfillment. So you're in the business either with clients that you love, doing the jobs in the business that you love. If you guys love coaching, if you have no plans to exit coaching right now, then you don't need to transition out. You can still build a company around you and stay as the head coach. We have, and probably partially, for people like me putting out things about systems and automations, what gets lost in translation sometimes is that it doesn't mean your job now is to get out of the business as fast as you can. I mean, look at me here. Like I'm still a predominant part of my consultancy right now. We have a lot of, a lot of work is done by my team and everything else. But I'm still the one that travels around the world, does the talks, jumps on the phones, writes the books. I'll be working with Eva, editing the content. I don't need to do that stuff, but I love it. We want to sit down and watch the videos and go, I like that bit. Let's clip this bit. Oh, let's put this bit on Instagram. I love all that stuff. So yes, I could outsource it. Yes, I don't need to do it, but I enjoy it. So there are other parts of the business I can't stand doing. So those ones I outsource, or I've just lost the interest for them at this point in my life. So the same with your business, guys. Whatever the first three aspects of money, time, location, freedom are, always remember the fourth one. What's really going to keep me excited and passionate? Because I tell you what, and some of you who are at this point already will know, when you go past 100K in income, you'll probably never set another financial goal ever again. If you're living kind of, I won't say frugally, but if you're making a good up to like 5-10 grand personal income a month, and you're also someone who has kind of got, you want to buy material stuff and you want to do, if you've got that out of your system and you kind of care more about experiences and people and peace of mind more than just buying more stuff, because we've all been through that and I've bought a lot of stuff, but when you get to that kind of level of self-awareness, after you make like 5-6 grand a month, there's like not a lot of stuff you can spend money on. You don't need much more than that to live unless you have crazy big things you want to buy. I have no interest in buying a property. I have no interest in owning a car. They say leasing, renting is the new rich now, right? And leasing things, and I probably won't get a house till I'm about 40 maybe. I have no interest in it. It's just a real liability for me. I have a business. Every bit of money I can put in my business gives me a way bigger ROI than a property would have at this point in my life. And again, a lot of general kind of people that work in jobs can't stand that. My parents don't understand that. They're like, why don't you get a property? And I'm like, if I sink 100 grand into a load of bricks, it's going to take me about 9 years to make money back on that. If I sink 100 grand into my business right now, I could literally do events of 3,000 people a month, and I would make that ROI back. It was funny, actually. I had a chat with a real estate guy a little while back when I started getting things off the ground, started making more money. I met this real estate guy who was kind of saying, right, you're making money, it's time to get some help. Where are you going to put the money? How are you going to make assets? And he was like, if you put 20 grand down now into a property, in 5 years or 1 year, I can help you make a 10% return on that. So I was like, okay, if I give you £20,000, you'll give me 2,000 back on top of that in a year. He's like, yeah. I was like, dude, you give me 2,000 right now, I'll give you 20 grand back in a year from now by putting it into marketing and high margin services and products, you know, as an entrepreneur. And you got to realize that, guys. So a lot of everyday people will want to get mortgages and things like that. If you have a house, it's not a problem. I'm just saying it's a different way to look at it. That what people like my parents who are like just 9 to 5 working people don't get is that their income is not going to exponentially grow over time. So they do need something for a nest. They do need to put money aside into something like a property which has a low risk, long-term reward to it. So when they retire, then they'll have something producing money for them. But as an entrepreneur, your wealth and your ROI and assets are in the now. You know, and when you have a profitable business model that has leverage and scale, you really want to beg, borrow, and steal every penny you can get and put it into that. If it's going to give you lifestyle freedom, it's going to give you fulfillment, it's going to give you produce jobs for other people. It goes to helping a lot more people. So think about those things for your lifestyle, and it goes back to your question then of when you narrow down those things, it'll help you make a better choice. You don't need to quit your job. You don't need to grow the side business, right? You just need to figure out what is it you want. Can you do it with a balance of those two things? Or in your heart, do you really know one has to go and I need to go full in on the other thing? Either, no, my job is really where it's at, I can make more of it here, I'm just chasing the shiny object on the side. Or is your truth more, that's where I want to be, that can grow, but out of fear, maybe I'm sticking in this job a little bit. I don't know, but I'm just saying, I think that's something you can work out when you know why you want the thing. It's going to help you make the choice very, very easy. Does that help?
Yeah.
Good stuff. Okay. Cool. Questions? No questions? We all know everything we've come to know. Okay? Good. So let's talk about lead generation then. I'm going to keep this pretty straightforward, quite practical for you guys. How many of you guys said you're running Facebook ads consistently right now? Raise your hands up high. Okay. And by that I mean like lead generation, not like boosting like a nice video about something. I mean you're actually generating leads, direct response, you're putting money in, you're tracking how many leads you get for that amount, yeah? So for most of you guys, again, this will need some more individualization later on, and that's what the mastermind will help with later. But as an overview, talking about principles, this is very, very simple, right? The strategy, the technical side, the things that you get caught up in your head is the easiest fucking thing in the world, okay? It's, you know, there is something to it, I'm not demeaning it, but ultimately, you want to create a front-end offer, a trial program for a way people to work and get a taste and experience of your service. How many of you have a front-end offer, or an FEO as we call it right now? Most of you in the room, okay? Those who don't, is it because you hadn't really heard this concept before, or are you doing something different? So the guys who didn't put their hands up, what do you do to generate leads at the moment? Like, how do people come into your business? Anyone? We can. Who didn't put their hand up just now? Raise your hand. All right, Daniel. So, all right. So how do you get clients right now?
I don't know really. My issue is I'm only.
Where did your last prospect who called you up come or showed interest? Where did they come from?
Gym floor, just chatting to them.
So you're renting.
Yeah, I'm renting. I've only been doing it for 5 or 6 months, and I've run Facebook ads and got a little bit of interest.
Mm-hmm.
As for a front-end offer, it's actually on the way up on the coach. I was talking about it's something I need to get in place.
Okay.
And I've known it.
So at the moment then, the only entry point for you is, and what do you charge by session? Do you do like a 6-month package? What do you, if I want to pay you money, right? I want to get in shape. I got money. What do I get from you?
It's a monthly thing, so you pay per month based on how many sessions you're doing per week.
Right, okay.
You get obviously the face-to-face.
And that's a monthly commitment, right? Yeah. So here's the thing, here's why, again, most of us fail to make sales, and most Fit Pros suck at sales. Yes, there's a skill and a psychology element to it too, definitely. Yes, there's a confident issue most of them don't have. But the third thing, the easiest one to overcome is logistical, meaning just your structure. The fact that the commitment is just too much for a brand new person. They might, and people talk about know, like, and trust in marketing. Well, it's extremely limited because if I have a chat with you, right, I'm a prospect and I have a chat with you, And I could be like, I really like him. Daniel seems like a nice guy. Seems like he knows his stuff. There's great testimonials. This sounds really good. Do you want to do 99-month commitment? No. Because the same reason you go on a date with someone, you have a great time with them, they're not going to marry you the next day. Because it's just not the done thing. It's too much commitment. People will want to feel you out first, right? And so, and this is what a lot of trainers just try and do. The commitment you're asking for is just probably too much for most people who, they kind of feel okay about it, but it's not enough for most of them. So that's where the front end offer comes in, of giving a sample of your service, short-term program. I don't mean like 3-week pass or anything like that. This stuff is like it looks kind of, it can work, but rather than say like it's a free week thing, or you want to change up and make it results driven. So it's a package or a program in and of itself. So I wouldn't do a free 7-day week. I would do a 7-day metabolic kickstart program. I wouldn't do a 2-week free trial. I would do a 14-day fat blaster program. I wouldn't do a 21-day trial. I would do a 21-day belly blast program, or a 21-day transformation challenge. Something that is results driven and tangible. Because again, a free pass, they just get the perception of like, well, it's free, and the onus, the perception of that is, okay, he's giving me this free pass because he or she is trying to impress me and convince me to work with them, right? But what you're saying is, no, this is a product, this is a package, and then you are going to have to qualify to us to come onto it. And you also tell people as well, be very honest, like this is not going to